Hey, howdy, guys. What's going down? Shit. Yeah, well, hey, I haven't been sitting around doing nothing. I got a painting that I'm working on, and Jesus got in the way again. Just did. But anyways, it's all good. It's all good. All right. But listen, I I was batting around in the book of Luke. All right, the Gospel of Luke. I couldn't get past the first. I couldn't get past the very first chapter in that book. It had so much in and outing and stuff like that. It's 80 chapters. It's 80 scriptures, or whatever you would call them, verses long. 80 verses. That's a whole mess of verses. Believe me, I know. All right? I know a lot of things now. I just found this was really, really cool reading. And I'm going to save you from doing it. All right? I'm just going to give you some outlines. And I'd like for you to go and try it yourself. It's an easy read. And I want you to learn how to get your own mind on it, your own eyeballs. And because I suck at reading, man, I really do. But, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But this is a little bit fancier. This one here, when I listen to it, it's the same. It's whoever the writers are. This could be a different person, but they just seem a little smarter, using fancier words, like this guy maybe went to school. All right. But it doesn't matter. The words are all working in the same direction as they should be. All right. Because what we get out of this, these gospels are about Jesus, his birth and stuff like that, most of the time. Or from that moment of his works, when it starts happening at 30 years old. Then they bring it all to life, this idea of, that time between birth and this beginning of the scene, he's gone. All right. Now, you and I, we filled one in, to find out what he did as a kid. He was just a mean, rotten little spoiled brat, like all of us, maybe, if we got a chance to. Not me, So, as it gets on with this story, we get right into it. It was about this guy named Zechariah and his wife, Elizabeth. And she's barren, and she can't have no children. And so the way the story starts out, and I can get it going real quick, just show you just business behind me. Does that look freaky or what? All right. Well, just take a second. Follow along with me, and I'll get half of this out of the way, and you'll understand what it's about. Because God comes to Zechariah, says his wife Elizabeth, who's barren, will give birth to John. And he says, what? And the angel says, oh, it's a little too tough for you to understand. I understand. You don't get it. All right? You don't believe it? I'll put you out. He says, I'm going to make you dumb until this whole thing plays out. All right? So he's just like, all right? And he sent him back to his house. All right? That means like he's in his own place. He's like your own tent. Sent him back to himself. But, asleep. All right? Now, we know that as meditation term, you're out. You don't get to see this part. You're not allowed, all right? So, while he's asleep, remember, it's been brought into his mind. Where in the hell does he say, your prayers have been answered? What this guy did, he winds up being, he's a priest in Judah, and he's the only priest that's allowed to go into the temple. And so if you were to, transpose that into, to what it's about, the truth, you're the only one that's allowed to go up into the temple. So it's about a person. It's about you. It's about the person, the only person that's allowed to go in there. His job in this is to light the incense at the incense altar. That's his job. So this is about beginnings, the beginnings of things. So of course, He's the one that brings the incense offering is this idea of how to make something communicate with the Lord. All right, this is an outside situation, but he has entered into this temple while the people prayed without. Outside, that's on the outside of the temple. So those people that were outside, those were without. Those were. He was on the inside, and his prayer was being answered. Looked right beside me and said, there was before his eyes, there was an angel of the Lord standing to the right side, the altar. Of course, he's in there too. So you've really got the burning incense in the middle, and you got the two. Yeah, it's always the two. All right, so it's kind of freaky here, but still, if his wife ain't got no children, then they're not really hooked up yet. Do you understand? He follows God's rules as much as he can. He's doing everything, but he just ain't there yet. So it's like the sixth chakra business. All right. So he says, he's like, hey, your prayers have been answered. Your wife's gonna have a baby, and he's like, oh, I remember even asking about that. When did I ask about that? When did I you do know that I'm like 100 years old, right? And my wife, she's pretty old too, So this is like, it's like, oh, disbelief! I can't believe this. Oh yeah, I'll show you. I'm gonna knock you out while all this process happens to you. All right. So anyhow, what happens to this? As soon as he goes out, the next line in this business is about Elizabeth conceives. She's like, oh my God. And she hides herself for 5 months. All right. That's a good number. The next line is on the 6th month, does this angel Gabriel go and knock on Mary's door, tell her she's now going to be the next one. She's giving up the booty here. All right. One of these are immaculate conceptions or something like that. This is just something that happens. This is the second one now. That other woman, she wasn't even asking for it. It's like, oh my God, she wasn't even told ahead of time. It's just like boink. While my husband's over there asleep, and get this little baby going down. Well, anyhow, the way it all works out is on the 6th month of this lady's pregnancy, does Mary get some kind of a knock on the door, so to speak, from Gabriel talking about what she's going to do. She's going to have a child, and this child is going to occupy the throne of David and stuff like that, and he's going to the house of who? Jacob. All right, so you're talking about he's going to take possessions of both places, the mind. He's going to take care of the physical and the spiritual side of us. The house of Jacob is our body, and that's going to take care of the kundalinis and the works. And the house of David, that's the whole business, That's the whole business. The throne of the guy himself, the king, the person, you're going to be in charge of yourself. This is the guy, once you're going to give birth to the guy that's going to show us the way, That's some great shit, But what's really cool about John is the one is going to be born to show us how to get our feet into the water, how to get started, how it all comes about through this idea. He's going to help people turn them into this Israel place, It's just so beautiful how this whole thing is written out. So in reality, what we get out of this is that there's not a bait and switch situation, but whenever we get the outside being represented as John the Baptist, he's this ruddy guy that dresses really dirty and he eats locusts. He consumes that consumes us. He consumes the consumed, the devourer of the devourer. So this is this whole idea of taking this situation through meditation that we are taking away the person that has their hand against us, or those things that come against us, those things that hurt us or want to harm us and stuff like that, even if it's ourself that we're being taken away from. For you guys that understand that. So it's this, they're two and the same guys. When he is beheaded or shut off from this, does Jesus have the doves descend, and now he's full of the Holy Ghost? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. All right, and because what's his face? John was born from his mother's womb already with the Holy Ghost, so he didn't need it, but he could see it. He saw it in Jesus, and then he saw it land on him, and then after that, he gets his head cut off. And that means the separation between what's above and what's below. And then we get Jesus, and we don't get no more John. All right? Except they're asking, who do they say I am? Who do they think I am? Who do they say I am? Well, a lot of people think that, that you're, John the Baptist, Elijah. All right? Same thing. Same idea. He says, yeah, well, I've been here before, and this and that, such and such, So anyways, one of the parts of the story is that when he is left speechless, and after those days, he had to finish his job. Zechariah had to go and finish his job. All these people have to finish their works before they do it. And that's what the numbers between the 5th and then on the way to the 6th month. And then Mary. So Mary is a clear part of this, is that she represents that Virgo. This woman, Elizabeth, is looking to have this child. She would like to have the same kind of power that this Mary has. But Mary comes and hangs out with them for 3 months. So that'd be Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. And then there's that line. And birth, boink. This is where Elizabeth has the baby, and Mary takes off. She's on her own. She goes to hang out in the hills with the big boys. All right, and then just 30 degrees later, this is where Aquarius goes. Later on, when Mary has her child, it comes about in the same spot. Remember, this is in the regardless of this story. That when we meditate, it's to come through a virgin mind, which is one that is shut off and alone and dark. And it's when it comes out of this state of mind, this Virgo, into Libra, where you are trying to make level between the right and the left side. All right, and these playing grounds, it's this idea that Jesus, when Mary gives birth to Jesus, this is going to take down the high spots and bring up the low spots, fill in the gaps, and it's going to make it level or even playing field. You find that then the Scorpio is where it's backbitten in the story, which is the kiss of death. You're delivered to die. This is the body of us. It's going through this. This is the shadow of death, which is mentioned in the story. This is what John is going to be relieving people while they're taking this trip through the valley of the shadow of death. And I'm sure you'll find it. It's in the first chapters here, first of Luke. And you'll see that's the body, the person in your mind shuts down the kiss of death through Scorpio, delivered to the crux constellation where you die, and we're reborn the next day, and this is where the child comes out. You go from man to this child, and you go all the way around back over here to Leo, and Leo, you get back to man. You get back to, the son of man. So, you go from being a child, going through all the works, and becoming a man in the end. So it's all beautifully written, and I was hoping that this would be something easy for you to understand. It's drawn up kind of crazy and all, but it's not. Once you look at it, you can see it's how my mind has been working lately, you know. And it's more of an artistic. It's like a ride, a roller coaster ride in here. And and I don't know if you noticed, it's like those 4 circles in there. I just put those in there to represent worlds. And for you guys that don't know what worlds are, those are the 4. The number 4, it shows up a lot. Sometimes in the writing, when things are only representing 4 objects, 4 things, that's a 4. We see it a lot of times in the 8, which is it'll talk about 4s, and we also see this world thing happening around the number 6, which is the works, and the works are what it takes to go from an Eastern way of thinking to a Western way of thinking to an Eastern way. The traveling, the works, the path, the way is the 6, number 6, the chakra business. So the works, all right. And let's see here. So I've got the number 17. There's one for 19, and then one for 27, and one for 35. Now those numbers are just underneath those things, but those are representing places where you could find the 4s and see how that works, how that 4 works. And I can do one for you. That's 17, so you'll notice that the way it goes is this is the west, and this is the north, and this is the south, and this is the east. And talking about the world, and those are directions. West is our intellect, our conscious. The north is our emotion and our heart. South is our physical self, our body, the vessel. And east winds up being our spiritual side. And in this particular group here, it's all on the happy side. But number 17 says, he shall go and shall go before him in the spirit and in the power of Elijah. So this will be the mind. Turn the hearts of the fathers to the children. That'd be the emotions. And when they talk about the children, it's this idea is your brother, your child. This is, you want to have children. You want to have this messenger. And to the disobedient, which is the body, to the disobedient, we're going to bring wisdom and to make a people ready for the Lord, which would be our spiritual side. So you can see all of those things had something to do with what they're about. I don't know if I made any sense there, but the conscious mind, the hearts of the Father, that's our north, and the disobedient to the wisdom. The skin is usually the disobedient. We're always regarded as some kind of a donkey, just, I don't want to change. Just like these stories, like, he's like, I don't think that I'm going to my wife's going to have a child. At her old age, are you crazy? Well, it's no different than when Abram and Sarah get this message that she's going to have a child, and they kind of laugh. And he says, yeah, so, laugh all you want. Laugh all you guys want, And they get Isaac out of that, It's just beautiful, I hope I got the right name, which means laughter. And on this one here, I'm going to put you to sleep. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? I'm going to show you. Made him speechless. That's what happens. He couldn't open his mouth. So it just means that this is when Jesus, like a sheep led to slaughter, he opened up not his mouth. It's the same thing, because you're in this meditation, and you're the one going in for this change. You're the burnt offering. As this whole thing starts off at the beginning, his job is to send the smoke, the incense. While they're praying on the outside, he's on the inside, tossing in himself, into the fire. All right, so anyways, It took a lot of work. I think this is easy. Look up the rest of those things in the book here. When you're looking, I would like you to very, it's really beautiful. Read towards the end. What kind of guy is being born here? All right, there are 80 verses in this, and the way it works is I want you to take the last 3 verses, clump those together as a 1, 2, 3, and from those guys up, every four is going to be another world. So every 4 verses, start again. Another 4 verses, start again. But this is how the worlds are going to play out there, one right after another after another. We've done this before, all right? But like I said, it winds up with 3 on the end, all right? And what happens is what is he going to do? What kind of man is this going to be? And it says, starting at number 66, says, and all they that heard them laid up their hearts and said, what manner of child this be? And the hand of the Lord was with him. That be one. And his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Ghost and prophesied, saying, blessed is the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up the horn of salvation in the house of his servant David. That's the first set of worlds. And what you're supposed to get out of this part here is that this was right after she had her baby, and they were getting ready to name it, and he had now had this vow of silence put on him, and now he's waking up as soon as the baby was born, as soon as it's going to be made. It's 8 days after his birth, where this is where it gets circumcised, right? Cut off from the lower. When you get circumcised on the 8th day after you've been born, this is how long his daddy had to stay quiet. They're going to name him now. And they're going to name him Zachariah after him. And he was like, you know, and his wife spoke up and says, oh, I think we're going to name him John. And then, you know, Zacharias, you know, it's like, writes down John, and then his mouth opens and his tongue was loosened, and he's allowed to talk say what he's supposed to say. Now he's awake, he's back to life again. His wife is in, he's full of the Spirit now, and he starts prophesying. That's what this is going on, all right? And he spoke of his mouth and the holy prophets, which have been since the world began. That's going to be 70, starting off at the beginning. The world began, the world, all right? That we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our own enemies, might serve him without fear. This is what was just told. This was our mind. I would like to take you out of this lower place so you could serve me without fear. We've been spent all this time of our lives serving him with fear. He says, no, let's not do that. We've had enough of that. Once we go through the Sabbath, I never want you to go through that again, and you won't. I'm your Lord. All right? So it says on more here, it says, in holiness can righteousness before him, and the days of our lives, in holiness and righteousness before him, all the days of our lives. This will be number 75. And thou, child, shall be called the prophet of the highest. For thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways, to give knowledge and salvation unto the people by remission of the sins. That was another 4. The remission of sins is this idea that as soon as you're connected with God, you have been forgiven of your sins. And those sins are only that you were not connected to God in the first place. Not individual sins of this or that, nothing. It's just that, while you were not connected with God, that's what it was. Now that you're connected with God, sin no more. All right? The last 3 on here is so that through the tender mercy of our God, whereby the day's spring from on high had visited us. This day spring on high, this is that fountain, those internal fountains of the deep. Once you taste this, right, you got to visit from up on high. It says, to give light to them that sit in the darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. See that shadow of darkness? He maketh us lie down in green pastures, right? Okay, and finally on number 8, 80, which is 8, it's a conscious number of control. And the child grew and waxed strong in the spirit, and was in the deserts until the day of his showing into Israel. All right. That's the last 3 of that business. That's the kind of man John's going to be. He's going to be the one that's going to put us on the ground. He's going to help us make that transition from physical to spiritual. He's representing the physical. Come see him. Come see him. He's going to baptize you, because that's what he does. This baptizing means that turn you into this child, which is the spirit, letting loose the spirit inside of you. And he is the guy. It's almost like, well, you can't get to Jesus without going through John first, and then you can. Then after that is the Kundalini, and we're all on our way to Mom. Once you get cut through the fat, which is the outside part of the Bible. Once you get through John the Baptist, does the child in you be set free to go up and meet your mama and have this Holy Ghost, this Holy Spirit come fill you up, fill you from top to bottom. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So I hope this was to help you understand something, that these 2 guys are actually filling the same spot. There's the outside and then the spirit. All right. And of course, we see that Jesus remains in spirit the whole rest of these stories. All right. All the rest of them. All of them. That's why he speaks in parables. He has to speak in some kind of symbolic language. He just cannot come right out and talk to you face to face. All right. I love you guys. I really do. I hope you recognize that it took a little bit of time and effort. Go read your damn Bibles, meet Mom and Dad, get this over with as soon as possible, and then learn what I do. Learn what this is talking about and how things work. All right. See for yourself. All right. I love you.